The first man through the door stopped so suddenly that the second collided with his back. On the bridge of the Dutch freighter Ourang Medan, the captain sat upright in his chair, hands gripping the armrests, eyes open and staring at nothing. His mouth was frozen in what might have been a scream. At the navigation table, the first officer stood bent over his charts, one hand still holding a pencil. He had not moved to break his fall. The Ourang Medan was a Dutch cargo vessel operating between the ports of Southeast Asia in the years after the war. Her exact registry remains unclear. Some records list her under a Sumatran charter, others claim she sailed under no flag at all. She carried a crew of 23 men. On the morning of June 1947, she was 3 days out from an unnamed port, bound for the Indonesian coast. Her manifest was never disclosed. The Strait of Malacca links the Indian Ocean to the South China Sea, a narrow channel where the water runs deep and the shipping lanes converge. In the post-war years, it carried more traffic than any waterway in the region. Vessels passed within sight of each other every hour. Radio operators maintained constant contact, relaying weather, position, hazards. A ship did not simply vanish there. The distress call reached 2 American vessels simultaneously: the Silver Star, a Liberty ship bound for Sumatra, and a patrol craft whose name was never logged. Both operators heard the same Morse transmission, tapped out with increasing urgency. The message was brief and desperate. It said the captain was dead. It said all the officers were dead. It said the entire crew was dying. Then came a final transmission, slower than the rest, as though the operator's hand had weakened. The exact wording varies across accounts, but every version agrees on the substance. The message said, "I die." After that, only static. The Silver Star's radio operator called back repeatedly. No response came. He plotted the approximate origin of the signal, a position roughly 50 nautical miles southwest, in open water. The Silver Star altered course immediately. She reached the coordinates within 3 hours, scanning the horizon for smoke or debris. What she found instead was the Ourang Medan herself, intact and under power, drifting in a slow, clockwise spiral. Her engines were running. Smoke rose from her single stack, but she answered no hails, and no crewman appeared on deck. The first mate climbed the boarding ladder and stepped onto a deck that should have been crowded with men responding to an approaching vessel. It was empty. The cargo hatches were sealed. The lifeboats hung undisturbed. Forward, near the bow, he found the first body, a deckhand lying on his back beside a coil of rope, eyes open to the equatorial sun, one arm extended toward the ship's bell. The second body was slumped against the forward mast. The third lay face down near the cargo winch. None showed signs of struggle or injury. Their positions suggested they had collapsed suddenly, without warning, in the middle of ordinary tasks. The first mate continued aft. He passed 2 more bodies on the ladder leading to the officers' quarters, both positioned as though climbing upward when they died. He opened the door to the bridge and found what would appear in every account afterward: the captain at his post, the first officer at the navigation table, the helmsman standing at the wheel with both hands still gripping the spokes. The ship's log lay open on the chart table. The last entry, dated that morning, recorded fair weather and steady progress. The clock on the bulkhead had stopped at 9:47. The first mate stepped closer to the captain's chair and saw what every survivor would mention afterward: the expression. The captain's face was locked in a rictus of absolute terror. Eyes bulging, jaw clenched, lips pulled back. His body was rigid, muscles contracted, as though he had died in the grip of a violent convulsion. When the first mate touched the captain's shoulder, the skin was cold and the limbs would not bend. The boarding party moved through the rest of the ship methodically. In the galley, they found the cook slumped over a pot of stew, still lukewarm on the stove. In the crew quarters below deck, they found men in their bunks, men at the mess table, men collapsed in the narrow passageways. 23 crew in total, every single one dead, every face locked in the same expression of terror. The ship's dog, a terrier kept by the crew as a ratter, was found in the cargo hold, standing rigid with its back arched and its teeth bared. It too was dead. Whatever had moved through the Ourang Medan that morning had not spared the animal. The dog had died mid-snarl, as though it had seen what was coming and tried to warn the men above. The boarding party returned to the deck and signaled the Silver Star. A decision was made to tow the Ourang Medan to port. A tow line was rigged. 2 men from the Silver Star remained aboard the derelict to monitor the tow, stationed on the bow where the air was clearest. Both men reported an overwhelming sense of unease, a feeling they later described as wrongness. Years later, when researchers tried to verify the Ourang Medan's registry, they would find no record of her construction, no record of her ownership, no record of what cargo she had been contracted to carry. The ship, it seemed, had never officially existed, and the boarding party had found no manifest, only sealed cargo hatches they had not thought to force open before what happened next. The tow proceeded for less than an hour. At approximately 4 in the afternoon, one of the men stationed on the Ourang Medan's bow smelled smoke. It was coming from below deck, somewhere in the cargo hold. Within minutes, smoke was pouring from the ventilation shafts. The 2 men abandoned the derelict immediately. The captain of the Silver Star ordered the line cut. The Ourang Medan was left to burn. The fire spread rapidly, far faster than a normal cargo fire should have spread. Witnesses aboard the Silver Star described the flames as unusually intense, white-hot in places, and accompanied by a series of small explosions deep within the hull. Within 20 minutes, the Ourang Medan's deck was engulfed. The heat was so extreme that the Silver Star had to withdraw to half a mile. She went down bow first at a steep angle, dragging her stern into the air. The last thing visible before she sank was her propeller, still turning slowly. Then she slipped beneath the surface and was gone. The entire event, from the first distress call to the moment she sank, had lasted less than 7 hours. No official investigation was ever conducted. The captain of the Silver Star filed a report with the United States Coast Guard. A clerk in Penang forwarded a summary to the Dutch colonial authorities in Jakarta. The Dutch responded that they had no record of a vessel by that name in their registry. The matter was dropped. The boarding party was debriefed and instructed not to discuss the incident publicly. They obeyed for decades. But sailors talk. Within weeks, the story had spread through every port between Singapore and Sumatra. Details varied. Some versions claimed the crew's faces were blue. Others said their eyes had been burned out. But the core facts remained consistent. A ship found drifting. Every man dead at his station. An expression of terror frozen on every face. And a fire that destroyed all evidence. Piracy was ruled out. Nothing had been stolen. Poison was considered, but no toxin known in 1947 could kill an entire crew within seconds and leave them frozen in terror. Carbon monoxide victims do not show signs of fear. They simply lose consciousness. The dog's posture suggested the animal had seen something in the instant before death. Not inhaled it, seen it. In 1948, A researcher in Singapore claimed to have traced the Ourang Medan's origin to a shipyard in Rotterdam, but the records he cited were destroyed in a warehouse fire before they could be verified. In 1952, a former Dutch naval officer told a journalist that the ship had been carrying experimental chemical weapons seized from a Japanese facility after the war. The officer refused to give his name and was never located again. No wreckage from the Ourang Medan has ever been recovered. The depth at the location where she sank is over 200 meters, too deep for divers in 1947 and never revisited. The Silver Star's log, held in the National Archives, contains an entry for June 1947 describing the boarding of a derelict vessel. The entry does not name the vessel. It only records the number of dead, 23. Somewhere on the floor of the Strait of Malacca, beneath 200 meters of water, the Ourang Medan rests with her cargo still sealed in her hold. Whatever killed 23 men and a dog in a matter of seconds remains unidentified. Whatever caused the fire that consumed the ship before investigators could examine her has never been explained. And whatever she was truly built to transport went down with her into the dark. The men who boarded the Ourang Medan that afternoon saw something they refused to speak of afterward, not publicly, and according to one account, not even to their families. Do you believe what you just witnessed? If not, tell us why in the comments below. And if this story sent a chill through you, like and subscribe to WU Historical. There are darker mysteries still to come.